Good morning. I wanted to share something that I was reading in my Bible study this morning. That was a huge encouragement for me, and I thought I would just, share it in case it can be an encouragement for you. I have been doing this Bible study from the Daily Grace Company. I just love all of their Bible studies. You can look them up on Instagram here, but this one is preaching the gospel to yourself, and it just has like different studies on how you can apply the Bible and the gospel to different areas of your life. And this morning it was about seasons of waiting, and I'm currently in a season of waiting. I'm not going to go into detail. I share a lot here on social media, but I do keep some things just within our family, so I'm not going to go into detail. But maybe if you are also in a season of waiting, this can be an encouragement for you. I'm just going to share a few things from the Bible study that really encouraged me, and then I also want to share a few Bible verses. We may be anxious over uncertainty, but God is never anxious because nothing is uncertain to Him. We can rest in the unknown because it is not unknown to God. Just as God sent Christ in the fullness of time, God will work in your life in the way and in the timing that is perfect. From our perspective, God may seem to be moving too slowly to act on our behalf, but our view of slow is not slow in God's eyes. He will not delay His promise. He works in His timing, and His timing is perfect. That was just like hit me hard, because so often I tend to, if I am in a season of waiting, I tend to try to take it into my own hands, try to speed it up, do what I can to make things move along faster, and oftentimes that results in maybe things going way wrong, or just feeling even more anxious or worried about it because of trying to rush it. And God's timing is always perfect, and we can rest in that. We can rest in the fact that He knows our future. He knows the unknown, and He knows what is best for us, even though we may not feel like it's the best thing for us. He ultimately knows what is best for us, and we can rest in that, have faith in that, and find peace in that, to just give it to Him and let Him work in our life. Because when our hearts are restless with uncertainty and confusion, we can rest in the mighty arms of our loving Father. When we feel as if we are crumbling under the weight of fear, God is our strong rock that holds us up when we cannot stand on our own. When we feel vulnerable and alone in our longing, God covers us and protects us. He is a safe place. God does not leave us alone in our waiting, but He invites us to pour out all our hopes, joys, sorrows, and fears before Him, and promises that even when all seems hopeless, He will guard our hearts with a peace that endures despite our circumstances, the peace that comes from the One who knows all and holds all. We can find peace in trusting Him instead of trying to rush the process, or instead of trying to take things into our own hands. We can find peace in knowing that He knows all, and we can, instead of trying to take things into our own hands, instead of trying to rush the process, why not pour out our hearts to Him and rest in Him? I know it's easier said than done. with, being in a season of waiting myself. It can just be really hard to trust right when you're in the middle of it, but it can also, like, looking back on, like, other seasons of waiting in my past, it just, after you have moved through it, you can see how God was working, and, like, his timing is always perfect. I want to read Philippians 4, verses 6 and 7. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your request to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Those verses are just packed full, and it tells us to not be anxious about anything. But in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, we can give thanks. We can come to God in prayer instead of putting our focus on being anxious, worrying about the situation. We can put our focus in praising God for who He is, giving thanks for who He is, and just pouring out our heart to Him. He wants us to just interact with Him and just pour out our hearts to Him. He knows what we are feeling. He knows everything. But just pouring out our hearts to Him can help a lot. So if you are in a season of waiting, I know it can be difficult. And maybe just drop a 1 in the comments if you are in a season of waiting, so that I can just pray for you, and we can, you think about it. Pray for me, as my family is in a season of waiting, and we can just pray for each other, be there for each other. And I'm just going to end it with, God is with us in the waiting, and He will be with us when the waiting is over. He cares, and even though I was not going to get emotional with this, but even though sometimes it can feel like we are very much alone in our situation, we can rest in the fact that God is always there with us. He cares, and He will never fail us. People will fail us, circumstances will fail us, but God will never fail us.